In July 2005, 25 Tlingit, Haida and Tsimshian elders gathered in Juneau, Alaska to speak and listen and meet with one another, to tell stories about their lives, their clans, their nations, and their land. Stories about embracing family and community wellness. The year before, these same elders had met to agree upon a common set of traditional tribal values. Those values were then taken to the 69th Annual Delegates Assembly of the tribe and unanimously adopted. They are as follows: discipline and obedience to the traditions of our ancestors, respect for self, elders, and others, respect for nature and property, patience. Pride in family, clan, and traditions is found in love, loyalty, and generosity. Be strong in mind, body, and spirit. Humor. Hold each other up. Listen well and with respect. Speak with care. We are stewards of the air, land, and sea. Reverence for our Creator. Live in peace and harmony. Be strong and have courage. These are the stories they told.
My name is Alfred McKinley, and I was given the name, my dad gave me that name. He named me after his buddies when he was going to Selden Jackson School. His Alfred Woodmark, that was his name, and I got that that's where I got my name, Alfred Woodmark. And my Tlingit name is Anxis. It's spelled Aanxis, Koox. So you can, that's how it's spelled. But in the meantime, after that name, I was given my uncle's name, George Jim. They called me on his tuk, but that was his nickname, actually. And it's Keikoox. It's spelled Keikoox. Kook, kook, like a box, kook. And I'm eagle, shark, the Wishkiton. And first of all, I guess I'd like to talk about the what we discussed at our meeting that we had with this young fellow here. He told me I should talk about that one. During the Ice Age, our people were being pushed out by the ice. And we came through Taku, and some of our people came through Tuckwan, and some people came through Copper Center, and all the way down to Ketchikan or Wrangell, how our people started migrating. And while we've been pushed out by the ice, one of the families, our families, got sick, and they had one whole family group stayed behind. And they survived through the winter. They ate off the beach, they ate off the woods, in the woods, and they survived through the winter. So that's how they got their name, Yan Yedi. That's the name they got, Yan Yedi. That's where, what's her name mentioned? She's the daughter of, his father was Yan Yedi.
Clara.
Clara that was here spoke that her father was Yan Yedi. When we started getting pushed out, some of my tribe went different direction. We went this way toward Juneau, and toward Glacier Bay, and some went south. So this is the story that I received from my uncle, my uncle at that time was John B. Fawcett. His Tlingit name was Zihua. He's the one that told me that story. But my uncle, George Jimmy Allscole, I guess, this was he was saying something. What he meant, Sako, know it. those are how I grew up. But actually growing up, I didn't grow up, I'm originally from, my dad's from Huna, so I guess that's where I come from. Born and raised in Huna. But in the meantime, our family actually, I was raised in Excursion Inlet, Kwan. So we had a big house in Astoria Cannery, and later on they moved that house toward Excursion Inlet. And that's a real big house that we used to have in Excursion Inlet. And I remember my uncle used to go up to Dacia Bay. They used to get their mountain goat in Glacier Bay, deer meat in Pleasant Island, cockles, clams, where they got everything they need to get ready for the winter. And that's how I grew up in Excursion Inlet. I remember those things. And the other things I remember is how they put up their food. We didn't have refrigerators or freezers at that time. So we actually preserved our food by salting it. We salted our fish, just like everybody else did. And when we were ready to eat the salt fish, my dad would take it up to the river, and he'd put a rock on it to get the salt out of it. That's how I remember what my dad used to do. And we lift off the land, and my dad went to Sawmill Bay to get the keen salmon. My mother used to go out jig halibut right in that area. And my mother is, I guess, the way they did things is that when my dad shot a deer, my mother would skin the deer. It is a custom, I guess. So she would skin the deer. That's how I remember everything when I was a kid. And we ate clams, we ate gumboots. Gumboots is today that we don't have. And we used to eat lots of gumboots, and our people in Huna used to get all that stuff too. And after growing up, after a while, the federal government came around. And when we turned 5 years of age, the federal government told my parents, those kids will have to go to school, otherwise we will take them away from you. So my parents actually then moved to Huna. And we moved to Huna and we went to school there. And that's how our people, I guess some of our people went to Wrangell, the ones that were older than we were. And we moved to Huna, and that's where some of our people went. And my grandmother used to tell us stories about what was going on. And she used to tell us stories where she said, listen to me. People can laugh at you when you don't know where you come from. That's what my grandmother's cane used to tell us. And our custom at that time, I use the word custom, but our tradition, custom, both in Webster Dictionary probably mean the same thing, you know. Our way of life, my uncle actually taught us this and that. He taught us how to hunt and my dad also taught me lots of things, because my dad was a high school graduate, and my mother was a fourth grade had fourth grade education, but she can speak English fluently. And my dad, he taught us everything. You know, like for example, I used to say when my mother made mashed potatoes, at that time we used to call it smashed potatoes. And my dad used to bawl me out because I said smashed potatoes, you know. But he was teaching us the white man's world, you know. And during that, growing up in Hoona there, my dad was a recording secretary for the A&B. And when he brought his notes in, stuff like that, my mother would be cooking fried bread, and my mother would be interested in what went on. And like a little boy, I used to listen what went on. And there are a lot of things I remembered about what went on in the National Park Service, for example. In the National Park Service, they told our people when it's become a National Park Service. Glacier Bay, I remember what went on there. My dad said, we have no problem with Glacier Bay. He said, we'll keep on doing what we're doing that time. Everything will be the same, status quo, something like that, you know. So what happened there, though, is that they told us what they told was not true. And all of a sudden, the national park took over, and pretty soon they started told us, well, we can't hunt seal no more. We can't pick seagull eggs no more. We can't shoot our mountain goats no more. Pretty soon they start putting restrictions on our people over there. And that's what I learned what went on. They changed everything after they told us what they were going to be doing. And those are the type of things I learned about what went on in more or less I started growing up in the political world, so to speak. So I started getting interested, and then after that we went to Moneshcom. When Hoona burned down, I think it was 1946 or something like that. Our house went up with it. Our regalia everything went up in the air, and we moved to Sitka. And from Sitka, we went to Moneshcom High School, and that's where I graduated from Moneshcom High School. After I graduated from Moneshcom, I went to work over here in Juneau, because there was no jobs in Hoona. My buddy Jim Austin Jr. put me to work as the assistant city clerk, giving receipts to those people that paid their bills. Water bills, electricity bills. And I remember the Takdain town, my father's tribe would say, "Sonny boy, it's good to see you come home. This is what we've wanted our people to do, get an education." That's what those people used to come and tell me. And for $1.35 an hour, I couldn't live on it. So I came into town while working for the federal government, Alaska Road Commission. Alaska Road Commission at that time was under the federal government, and later on it was changed. But while working, then I got drafted in the Armed Forces. And in the Armed Forces, I really had a high aptitude. Armed Forces, and then I became a personal management specialist. Then after a while, a personal management supervisor. That's how I started moving. Then after I got separated from the military, I went on to college. After graduating from college, I went to work for the federal government. I transferred around in the federal government as an auditor, things like that. And I worked. Then I transferred to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that's where my buddies, all my buddies, like my brother-in-law, they call me Alfredo. And I have all kinds of names, but but that's how I got all these things as far as my life, how I grew up. And my brother, I guess most of my family, my brothers and sisters, all got a high school education. My brother got his BA degree in literature in English. So he used to teach over here in Marie Drake. And that's how we grew up, as far as my brother and I. And then after a while, I joined the A&B. And when I joined the A&B over here, I went and got some heron eggs out at Ock Bay for the people. When I got the heron eggs for the people, my aunt Goldie Moses told me, I gave her some. You want some heron eggs, Auntie? She said, yeah. She brought a little bucket, something like that. I got in the car and put the whole thing over here. And said, where shall I put it? She looked at what I had. Oh, mackerel! I didn't know you had that much. So I gave her a whole bunch and put it on the sink. And then Auntie, I got a whole bunch of heron eggs in my station wagon. And I don't know what to do with it. Then she said, Sonny boy, give to all the people in the village here. So I gave all the heron eggs to the people here, and they started asking my name. What's your name, Sonny boy? And I gave him my name. Who's your mom and dad? I gave him my mom and dad. Oh, we know your dad and mom. He said, they're good people. So I realizing that I didn't know what was going on, but before I know it, these people in the village got me elected to the A&B. That's how I moved up over here. And I got involved building the A&B next door here. I got $1 million. So we built that A&B hall over here. I mean, that's how I got started over here. But in our culture, it's really a lot to talk about. I guess my brother-in-law talked about respect. Respect goes a long ways. We respect nature. We respect our people. We respect the land, because my grandmother used to tell us, that's what my grandmother used to tell us. And she used to tell us, they're going to build a fence around their place. But us, we don't do that. They'll build a fence around their place, and then they're going to file their deal in court, something like that. Record all this stuff. Did our people know that? No, they don't. Our people at that time didn't even know what a quit claim deed was. And we lost our tribal houses over here in this community. You know how we lost it? Charlie Jones used to work for the realty office over here in BIA. And at that time, the person that the caretaker that was staying in that tribal house, they issued that deed to him. When the deed was issued to that person, he sold that tribal house, which did not belong to him in the first place. Tribal houses belong to all our people, not one person. And this is one of the things, as far as the white man's world, that I learned. But after graduating from college and getting my degree in accounting, I learned all this stuff. I learned about negotiable instruments. Negotiable instruments is actually just a check that you write. But anyway, I kept on going. I came back. My buddy in the military, Bernard Ladd from Milwaukee, German descendant, told me, Al, what you need to go back to your home is help our people. Help your people. And behold, I got elected president for 16 years here in Juneau. And we got this A&B hall built. And lots of my people over here, lots of them, they're all gone. The last one I remember was Cecilia Coons, who left us. And I learned quite a bit from that lady. I learned that quite a bit. But that's what happened in Juneau because of property taxes. People didn't even know what the hell property tax, and all of a sudden they send them a bill. And when they send them a bill, they had no money to pay for it, and they lost their land because of that, stuff like that. But I sit down, what the heck can I do with that one? You know? So these are things I learned as far as growing up here in Juneau. Long ago, chalk, long ago. Our people, for example, Huna's on Chichikov Island, and Angoon is on Admiralty Island. If there was no deer in Huna, Chichikov Island, our people used to go to Angoon. Is it okay if we get about 25 deer because we don't have any deer on Chichikov? And the leader of that place would say, "Gook, gook, go right ahead." Our people would shoot 25 deer and 5 deer for thank you. 5 deer for thank you. You go back. Likewise, if they did not have any deer in Angoon, they'd come over to Huna. That's how everything went. That's what we used to have long ago. It comes under our culture, respect. Respect nature. And later on I learned, for example, when we built that A&B Hall, for example, I learned this from Mrs. Coons. I asked her a question, how come we bless a building when we build it? And Mrs. Coons told me, we put a mark on the corners. And Mrs. Coons told me, what we're doing, she told me, was that the reason why we do that, we are apologizing to the trees, timber, the gravel that they moved. When we moved the gravel, we moved them away from their family. When we take the trees, timber, we moved them away from their family. So as a result of that, we apologize. But in the meantime, we say we're thanking them, but we won't apologize for what we did, because we're going to be meeting at the A&B Hall to try to better our way of life to what's happening to our people today. And that's what Mrs. Coons explained to me when I was here. He said that's our way of life. Anything we do, we have respect. Another thing too, respect comes a long ways. We don't actually make fun of our food either. We don't make fun of the salmon, anything like that. We actually get our salmon, and we don't waste any of on the salmon. And those are the type of things that we have. And she also, last I remember Mrs. Coons telling me was that subsistence, for example, where the federal government passed under NELCA, something like that. And she told me, subsistence says, she said to me, "Da sawa subsistence say da wasak." What is it? What is subsistence? It's our food. How come they call it subsistence? She said it should be called Tlingit food. And the people up north should be called Eskimo, Athabascan, Aleut, and southeast here should be called Haida food, Tsimshian food. That's what they should call it instead of the word subsistence. I mean, those are things she told me before, and while she was here, she then after that she passed away. And I want to convey this to give the message to all these things that passed in Anelka. And there's a lot of things that I learned growing up under a Tlingit Haida Judgment Award. And before that, there were different things, like for example, Tlingit and Haida. For example, Tlingit, I think this is spelled Tlinket. Tlingit. That's how it used to be spelled long ago. And today, when the 1959, when the award came, from Tlingit Haida Award, they changed that to Tlingit. That's how things has changed while all these claims were coming by, as far as what I learned while I was growing up in the whole process. But anyway, I just want to convey all this to whatever is taking place. And they used to call our villages isolated villages. And under the land claims, they call it rural. And all of a sudden they call us urban. So every time my brothers and sisters from Huna come over here, I'll say, "Hi, good to see you, rural people." and they always come back. They don't pull any punches. It's good to see you for you urban too. He always told me. It's kind of ridiculous. That's how the federal government is doing. And at the convention last convention in Sitka, I went and testified before the halibut. And I started off, gave my name, who I am, I'm a delegate from Juneau. And I said, I made reference to the United States Constitution, the Commerce Clause. Commerce Clause. That's where we come under the federal government. This is where, under the Commerce Clause, the federal government is supposed to be protecting us. Is there any person here from the federal government listening to us to hear? I guess they were scared to get up, They were scared to get up. But there was a federal government person there. And right now, the federal government is supposed to protect us under the Commerce Clause. That's where we come under.
King Andas Lukunana Digula Digwa Waginanu Yadas Kitalun Kilkana Digula Digwa Yahualihi I Yahualihi I Yahualihi I Yahualihi I Yahualihi I Yahualihi I